Thank you so much. If you know me at all, you'll know that I am not a morning person. I need at least like a big pot of coffee before I can even think um, uh, to do anything, let alone present and talk to people and be human. Thank you so much, James, for kind of bringing me on board to kind of talk about what you would say the topic that I was very well known for doing is procrastination. I'll introduce myself. My name is Souad AlSerkal. I'm the Vice President of Strategic Communications at Tabreed. We are a district cooling company. We operate internationally, I'm extremely proud of being part of that team. I want to say hi to everyone. I can see a couple of names that I know, a couple of colleagues that I know, and team members. So thank you for joining. And now you'll know a lot of my secrets when it comes to actually meeting my deadlines and getting the job done. Shoot. Anywho, so let's get down to business. Let's talk about procrastinations. Basically, never put off what you can do, putting off today, then you can put off tomorrow. Procrastination is procrastinare. It's a Latin word. It's shifted between or split between two. It's pro, which is moving forward, and crastiness, which is belonging to tomorrow. And basically, it's to put off or postpone something until tomorrow. What does it mean? So number-wise, I love statistics. So they say that 88% of people admit to actually procrastinating at least an hour a day. And what people don't usually know or kind of put in the back of their heads or kind of acknowledge is that procrastination has almost always a negative effect on productivity first, and then well-being because of the stress levels. And it's basically just letting low priority tasks interfere with completing high priority tasks, which is a huge, huge deal. But it feels so good. So if it feels so bad, if it is so bad, so why does it feel so good? Because procrastinating kind of like gives you that fake feeling that you can produce better under pressure. It makes you feel that you're a person who has so much on their plate when you actually do not. You're convinced that you are a carefree character, that you don't need a schedule to follow. You can get the job done whenever you need to get the job done. And you are an adrenaline junkie. That's what I would call them. But truth be told, we are lying to ourselves. So why do we procrastinate? It's not only for these feelings. It's not only for these rushes. First of all, we do that as a part or as I would say a reflection of defiance. What do I mean by defiance? Being rebellious, meaning that if you have to do it, I won't do it. It's like, I don't want to do it. I don't have to do it, so I won't do it. That's part of why we procrastinate. A second part is skepticism. You're afraid of failure, so you kind of like become skeptic of your own talent and your own I would say power and knowledge of the field. Third of all, it is just not fun. You kind of like lack enjoyment in doing something. So it's either you don't like the job, you don't like the project that James gave you, you don't like the paper, you don't like whatever, and you just don't find that excitement in actually doing your job or getting that accomplished. Achievemophobia, that is an actual fear of success. And this is something that I would say a lot of people kind of belittle as a feeling, and they actually do follow it because they don't want people to expect more of them. I've heard this sentence a lot of times in my career. It's like, oh, no, Saad, I don't want to do more, because if I do more and do it well, my superiors will expect more of me. And to be honest, more than ever, you do actually tend to shoot yourself in the foot when you do great at something. So sometimes that is actually that's the reason why it kind of pushes you to be like, no, just let it be. Let it be to the very, very last minute. The last one is abolition. What does it mean? It's the lack of motivation. You don't have enough excitement in you that makes you want to actually do your job or do the task at hand. Now, all of these things are some things that you actually create in your mind, and that makes you procrastinate consequently. But sometimes it is actually a medical issue that you have that you need to definitely address. It could be ADHD or depression. What does it mean? ADHD basically is it's a disease where you cannot concentrate at all. It's something that you cannot control, and it's just something in you that you need to get a doctor's I would say assistance on. And then depression is that you find it so hard to do anything. You get yourself into this bubble. And FYI, I did suffer depression for the longest time. I just couldn't find it in me to find the passion that I have today when it comes to whether was it communications or public speaking or motivational speaking, whatever the case was. I lost that for a very long time. One of the most important ones is that we have something called active intuition, which means is that you don't really know if what you're doing is good for your career. You can't kind of like pinpoint it. And because you don't know what your passion is, and you don't know if this is good for your career or not, you tend to kind of put it aside and procrastinate actually getting that job done. So what I would advise you to do in that instant, in general, not just for that, in general, set yourself some goals. I personally have 10-year goals, I have 5-year goals, and then I kind of like put a reminder for myself that every year kind of like check in. Am I actually doing what I'm meant to be doing in these next 10 years, or am I just wasting my life away and not doing anything? But being a VP of, the largest district cooling company in the world, I think I'm doing something right, and I'm on plan, I'm on track. So it's very important to know for yourself that yes, this is exactly where I want to go, and that's how I want to get there. One metaphor that I use, and I would love if you guys kind of like remember this story very well, or remember this example very well. I look at my life as a picture frame, and everything in it are pieces of puzzles. You never start a puzzle piece from left to right or right to left, top to bottom. It's never the case. We usually kind of like pick corners, start here, get stuck, go to a different corner, get stuck, go to a different corner. So if you are doing something in your life that you know this is for your long-term plan, but you got stuck, don't give up, leave it, focus on other things so you can reprioritize and come back to that piece of puzzle in that corner with more wisdom and more knowledge to actually know how to continue. And believe you me, you're the only person who can see the end product of that picture. So don't let anyone tell you that this is not the way you're supposed to do it. If you are a professional and you know exactly what you're doing, just go ahead with it. Work on that piece. It's not working right now. Rest assured that when you come back with all the wisdom that you got from those years and those jobs that you've done, you'll definitely get it sorted. It's a little bit off topic, but it's something that I like to always remind myself that, life is a puzzle picture. Basically, you're lying to yourself when we're talking about procrastination. When you say that, if you're procrastinating and you get a job done and you submitted it and it's not that great, you'd be like, if only I had one more day to finish that project, it would have been perfect. If only I had a little bit more time, it would have been absolutely amazing. No, because this is how you kind of attribute the failure not to your ability, but to time, which is absolutely BS. It is not to time, because you had enough time to actually get the job done, but you didn't. And I'll tell you a couple of tricks, and I do hope that I don't get shot in the foot because of it. Anywho, so when you do lie to yourself and you do procrastinate and keep on doing it, what happens? You have a couple of things. First of all, you've got wasted time. You've got missed opportunities. Oh my Lord, the amount of missed opportunities that you kind of like miss when you procrastinate and you have so little time to finish anything. Poor performance, definitely, because when you give half a job, I tend to, by the way, just a disclaimer, I swear like a sailor, but I'm biting my tongue just because it's really early in the morning. So when you present your project and you get back criticism because it's not perfect, that's poor performance, and self-criticism definitely, because you're always skeptical about what you're doing and if you're good enough. And then finally, increased stress levels. Whoever tells you that this anxiety, this adrenaline rush, it's, oh my God, it's I'm an adrenaline junkie. Yeah, no. No, you're getting blood pressure, you are putting your body in turmoil, and you will eventually get sick. And believe you me, this is something I've experienced firsthand. How can we break that habit? There are a couple of things. First of all, that's my favorite one. Give yourself fake deadlines. I don't remember one project that I gave my team with the right deadline, ever. I always give myself a week buffer. If it was a project, a short-term project, a long-term project, a month buffer, an immediate project, an hour, or actually 3 hours buffer. It's like, oh no, we need it right now, and I have till the end of the day. And it works like a charm. Now, my team will never believe me, but I will never tell you the real deadline. I remember story time. I remember I had a subordinate a while back, and he couldn't meet a deadline to save his life. To save his life, he couldn't meet a deadline. And I found out the hard way. And I'm like, okay, this guy is going to kill me and give me a heart attack because I cannot handle not meeting a deadline. Thank you, James, by the way. So I'm like, okay, so what am I supposed to do with this guy? So I realized that I cannot depend on him and give him the freedom to act as a senior and kind of like manage himself and give me the project. So I used to always give him fake deadlines, and I used to always give him a month fake deadline. And truth be told, he always submits 2 weeks after the fake deadline, which gives me 2 weeks to revise before the actual deadline, because he's never ever kind of met that. And it did help me. So giving yourself fake deadlines actually eventually helps you to kind of raise your own standards, because now you always have that extra time to kind of go back and fix until you get there. But that's going to take me to a different point a little bit in a couple of minutes. The second one, get organized. All right, get organized. I have notebooks, digital notepads, I have pen and papers, I have laptops, I have everything. I have post-it notes, I've got notes on my phone. I use my calendar all the time. And getting organized and putting everything with an alarm and to get yourself always reminded, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that. That at the beginning, it is tedious. It is like, I don't know, you broke up with your wife and she's calling you for alimony. It's that annoying. But then you start getting to like it because it reminds you to kind of like keep on track and keep yourself that's it, keep yourself on track and actually get you to meet your deadlines on time. So I definitely do that, and I do that with everything in my life. So when I moved to Abu Dhabi, my parents live in Dubai. I live in Abu Dhabi and I work there, and I'm always busy. I'm always busy. Like the higher you go, the more responsibility you have, the more strategic you need to think, the more forward looking, and there's a lot of things that you need to kind of attend to. So I didn't have the time to think for myself at some points. And my parents used to be like, Saad, you never call us. Why don't you call us? We just see you on the weekends. We would love to speak to you. And that's something my father taught me, God rest his soul. He called me once and he was very, very, sad. And he's like, why aren't you calling me? I miss you. I miss my daughter. I need to speak to you. And I told him, Dad, I'm so sorry, but I'm honestly always busy. And when I get home, I'm really tired. He's like, you know what? Pencil me into your calendar. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, put me in your calendar at X time every day that you need to pick up the phone and call your dad. And I just went quiet. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, that's actually a good idea. And I started penciling in time for my parents, and I started calling every day because my alarm went off telling me that you need to call mom and dad. And that helped because it kind of grounded me. It reminded me of family. It kept me at peace, because when you speak to your parents, you have that different feeling. It's all these things. So getting organized definitely assists. Then you have giving yourself 15 minutes. I don't mean giving yourself 15 minutes to kind of relax and go into Zen mode. No, trick yourself and lie to yourself by saying that you only have 15 minutes to finish a task. That way you get the adrenaline rush of actually finishing that task in 15 minutes. Finally, being realistic. I cannot stress enough about this one, because I believe this is one of the major reasons why people procrastinate, because they believe that it has to be perfect. Perfection, don't seek perfection. It's unattainable, because there's always room to improve. So take on realistic projects and do not seek perfection. So story time. Tabreed launched its new brand identity on the 11th of April. The original date was the 28th of March. God rest his soul, Sheikh Hamdan passed away, so Dubai was in mourning for 10 days. So the entire deadline shifted. And I was looking at my calendar on the 16th of March, and I was like, whoa, our new deadline is on the 11th of April. So I have an entire month to do things and to fix things. And then I realized, and a lot of people can actually agree to that, that instead of actually fixing and perfecting what we're doing or making sure that it is executed properly, we start adding more stuff because we had more time, because we wanted the spectacular. Okay, first of all, follow me and you'll see the beautiful show that we held on Burj Khalifa for the logo. It was an absolute spectacular show. Kudos to the team. But at some point, I was like, wait a second, Saad, hold up. Back up. Stop adding more to your plate. Be realistic about this project. What does it need? You have the freaking Burj Khalifa on your even if you invite everyone for a slumber party under the Burj on the fountain, people will still be amazed that you have your logo on that building. So I stopped for a second, thought about it, and I was like, you know what, let's just make sure that whatever we have on our plate actually goes well, and that we don't have a problem. And believe you me, every problem in this entire planet happened on that night, but I still survived and did not die. But so being realistic and putting that and lowering that unrealistic expectation of perfection is very important. Now, how can we avoid procrastination? There are 3 things that I love doing. First of all, planning and setting SMART goals. Very important. What do I mean by planning and setting SMART goals? First of all, you need to plan. One second, there we go. You need to plan goals. You need to plan time, resources, processes, distractions, and failures. What do I mean by that? Everything else makes sense because you need to plan everything in a schedule. What I mean by failures, you need to have contingency plans. You need to plan for these failures. You need to make sure that you have time to fail and recover. You need to make sure that no matter what happens, I can get back on track and get that sorted and delivered. Distractions, now that we work from home, the amount of distractions that you can get is unbelievable. Delivery got there, you have a pet that for some odd reason just decided that they are in heat right now and they want to, bark the entire, meeting. That's a distraction, or the entire project time. People walking in and out of your room, I locked my door. So you need to plan for all these things. And then you need to set SMART goals. What does it mean to have a SMART goal? It has to be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. When you set a SMART goal, automatically it's a realistic goal. It's a realistic project. Excuse me. For example, I need to write 12 press releases on research and development in 1 year. In 1 year. That's my goal. So I'm in PR. So writing press releases, that's definitely very specific. About R&D, I work in a R&D, let's say facility, whatever the case was. So that's specific, that's being specific. Measurable, it is measurable because it's 12. And attainable, it is very, very attainable to actually write one press release per month from a PR perspective. Relevant, definitely, since I work in an R&D company, press releases for R&D, it just makes sense, and market share, that's okay. Time bound, definitely, because it's 1 year, a full year that I require to do that. And so at the end of the year, I'll be able to be like, okay, so this is what I did, this is how I did it, and that's how much I need to kind of like grade myself. That's when it comes to KPIs. When it comes to small projects, you can actually, it just makes it more realistic when you be like, instead of be like, okay, so I'm just going to increase, our market share. Okay, increase your market share with what? Based on what? What's your base number? To whom? All these, don't leave anything up for question. That's how you set SMART goals. Creating obstacles. What do I mean by creating obstacles? Not creating obstacles for you. Create obstacles for procrastination, for it not to come into your life. First of all, stop multitasking. Multitasking is an absolute myth. Only 2% of people in the world can actually multitask. And this is based on a research by Business Insider. So don't multitask. You don't need to multitask. I do sometimes, but when it comes to actually kind of locking down on a press release or a project or whatever, I kind of close everything off and just sit there, and that's all I need to do, and then go and attack the second, I would say the second project. Choose a workplace like Aldrin that motivates you. That this is an atmosphere, that a working environment that I feel motivated working in. For me, it's the black chalkboard. I have one at home. I'm home, by the way, and I have one in my office. Everywhere I work, I must have a board, a glass board that I can write on, or a chalkboard. Old is gold, people. So for me, it's having, my chalk to use and getting all dirty with rubbing off everything off the chalkboard. This is something that motivates me. Me seeing my plan in front of me just motivates me. So create. Don't only choose a workplace. Create a workplace that you feel motivated in. Use internet blocking applications. What do I mean by internet blocking application? There's something called anti-social. So let's say you want to write a piece and you have set yourself for 30 minutes. You put that on anti-social and you open your document, you set the timer, your screen is locked on your program. Let's say it's Word document. It's locked on the Word document until you're done with the 30 minutes gap. So you don't surf the net, you don't chit chat, you don't do anything, you don't get distracted with anyone, you just stick on that. Leave Post-it notes everywhere to remind you of what you need to do next. So I spoke before about the scheduling on your planners. A Post-it note is, you can find Post-it note on actual Microsoft and on Apple, on your phones, and actual Post-it notes, and I use that a lot. Now, third thing is to actually get started. What do I mean by actually getting started? Is actually doing your job. So a piece of advice when you want to start doing your work and doing and attacking those things, first of all, dumb it down for yourself a little bit. All right, the huge project, put them down into chunks, tiny bite-sized chunks of mini projects of that bigger picture. Allocate from 15 to 30 minutes per project or per sub project, let's call them, and then attack them one by one. What I would do, I would choose the sub project, set a timer for 15 minutes or 30, depending on how I evaluate that task. Work until my timer is off, concentrating on that task itself. Take 5 minutes break, then reset my timer and repeat. Now, if you work for 2 hours straight, leave. Disconnect from that project for a little bit. You need to refresh your mind. Have a long break. You talk about 30 minutes, have a cup of coffee, go bug your sister, your spouse, do something to annoy them, have a good laugh, go back to your project and get it sorted. So those are the three things that I would definitely suggest to avoid procrastination. How long did it take me to do the presentation? Last night. I'm just kidding. No. But I do hope that my quick, short, sweet, and simple presentation kind of helped you to start not procrastinating. Again, my name is Souad AlSerkal. I'm the Vice President of Strategic Communications at Tabreed, and thank you for wanting to stop that habit.